For far too long, Chicago has been haunted by violence. Every weekend during the summer, we hear the statistics about the shootings and the deaths that have come as a result of this. And I'm sure we all know someone who's been a victim of senseless violence. So, what do we do about it? How do we reduce the violence that has been ravaging our communities for far too long? But we want to share a four-part plan to bring this baffling brutality to a stop. As an agent of change, we are inviting you to participate in this partnership for peace and pass it on to others. Because, like you, we too dream of a different Chicago. So, what is the plan? What is the four parts to bring this violence epidemic to an end? Well, the first part is to solicit participation from community, government, and educational organizations. And so, what does that mean specifically? Well, there are a couple elements involved with this. The first part involves expanding our educational curriculum to include conflict resolution, consequences and repercussions, and other items. It's to allow those in our community to share their stories of triumph and tragedy. And it's also to require community and faith-based organizations to serve their neighbors and community to maintain their 501(c)(3) status. In addition, other things we want to do is train students in the governmental and political process. We want to reward communities that serve as good examples in our city. We want to expand resources for after school, mental health, and special education. And we want to reward and encourage teachers with increased salary and free tuition for their children because they work so hard and are dedicated to our students. Along with soliciting participation from community, government, and educational organizations, we too want to tool communities with resource sites and centers for service and solutions. And so what that means specifically is a couple of things. We want to take advantage of abandoned buildings and repurpose them for Chicago solution centers and shelters. We want to hire minority contractors and community residents to train to build these centers. We want to install internet sites that serve as a source of communication for all community happenings, information, and events. And we want to encourage businesses to finance and fund these centers and shelters as well as these sites, um, along with soliciting participation from community, government, and educational organizations, and tooling communities with resource sites and centers for services and solutions. We want to offer real opportunities for rehabilitation, reentry, and renewal. And what that means, what that looks like, it is to reward companies that train and hire reformed felons or people re-entering society with governmental stipends. We want to offer them tax break and incentives for these companies as well, who recruit and hire within the urban communities. And we also want to appeal and help those who are struggling. For example, we want to require family counseling for guardians and parents, child offenders. We want to get mental health counseling for police officers because of the overwhelming things they face on the job. And we also want to get mental health counseling for serious criminal offenders. And the last part in bringing this epidemic of violence to a stop, we at Be the Miracle believe it is important to protect our communities through the use of volunteers, technology, and teamwork. And so starting with the technology piece, what that looks like is to provide surveillance and satellite technology to capture all criminal outdoor activity. We saw this with the Boston Marathon bombing, how they used satellite cameras to track down a suspect and bring him to justice. We also want to enlarge our police and volunteer presence in the evening, especially during high crime times and high crime communities. We want alignment with police officers in the communities by having them participate in CAPS meetings, by having police officers walk the block and participate in block club meetings, just so that we're all on the same page and ending this violence epidemic. Along with that, in protecting our community with volunteers, technology, and teamwork, for those good officers, those great officers who are dedicated in serving, especially in those high crime communities, We want to increase their pay and give them free tuition for their children, just to reward them for a job well done. And we also want to encourage our community residents to do community service with tax breaks and incentives. So that's our partnership for peace that we at Beat America have come up with. And as an agent of change, we want you to participate in this partnership of peace, figure out what role or path you're on, and join us with this. And also pass it on to others who might be really interested in bringing this epidemic of violence to an end. Because when we work together, our dream of a different Chicago will become a reality.